So what we're going to do this morning for you is talk about the new product, the newest product for Australasia, which is called Superfoods Greens and Reds. And you'll find out why we added the words greens and reds in just a few minutes, because we have a whole lot of greens drinks. The idea of a greens drink is certainly not really new, but this one is going to be really different. One thing that you'll notice about this new drink, besides the benefits of the rather extreme nutritional value of the product, is the fact that this one actually tastes good. Any of you who are familiar with greens drinks, you know that they're good for you, but they usually taste pretty awful because of because what's inside of them. And we decided here to take the opportunity to look at fruits and vegetables, not just greens, various grasses, barley grass, alfalfa, and so on, that you get in most of your greens drinks out there. With greens supplements, what you're looking at is, with just about every company out there, is a combination of green things, mostly grasses of various types, which are very good for you. Things like barley grass and wheat grass and chlorella and alfalfa, it's all good stuff. Tastes pretty bad, but it's all good stuff. So we thought, can we make a real superfoods greens drink that gives you a lot more than nutritional grasses and algae, but rather gives you fruits and even other vegetables that are very important for your health? So that's the first huge difference between our superfoods greens and reds drink. And you're going to find out that it's more than greens and reds. We have much more colors. It's much more colorful of a product. So, we look at these products in general in the market as products which are marketed as being very healthy, clean, natural, nutrient rich, and all those things, of course, are true of this product as well. But we have more, and of course, you expect that from us anyway, right? Now, when I made these slides initially, we had to mock up some of the artwork, so I apologize for the appearance of the package on the artwork. I'm sure that yours is cleaner down there in Australia, but if you folks only knew how I'm rushing between one project and another every day. So I'm just doing the best I can, but you get the picture. That's pretty much what your packaging looks like. And in this package, now you see just as you look at the package, you see, wow, there's some other stuff that I kind of recognize. I see carrots, I see beets, and what's that other stuff? Well, we're going to talk about some of that other stuff that's really good for your health as well. In fact, there's 16 different fruits and vegetables in this, and we've added something called soursop. Now, soursop goes by different names in different countries. It's only grown in Central America. But for some reason, different cultures give it different names, and I'm not really sure why that is. So I'm told that we are supposed to say in Australasia soursop, and that's there you go. Now, it's also known by the natives, by the native Indians in Central America. They call it guanabana, and so you may see it by different names, but I'm going to explain to you in a few moments that it's super healthy for you. It has tremendous health benefits. By adding the soursop, or if you want to call it guanabana, then whichever you want to call it's okay with me, same thing. This adds some health benefits that are above and beyond what you expect from a greens drink. You also see betaine. Betaine is something that's taken from beets, and it has tremendous health properties. Oh my gosh. Betaine is one of my favorite things to put into dietary supplements wherever we can. It also is described by different names in different countries, and that is a regulatory thing. So I'm not going to give you the other names because then I would be violating regulations in Australasia. So in your region, it's called betaine. That's what we're going to call it. And it has tremendous health benefits. One of the things it helps to do is provide your body with nitric oxide. And that, oh gosh, the benefits of that are just enormous. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we proceed. And of course, our own trademarked AmbroGuard. Now, AmbroGuard is a glyconutrient product, or scientifically we would call it a glycan product. So GLYCAN, glycan. Now, I prefer to say glycans because glyconutrient is a commercial term, and the majority of scientists have never heard of it. And if you say to a scientist glyconutrient, then they'll probably look at you funny and tell you there's no such thing. So we found a way to make this superfood actually taste good, as Diana opened the call with, because it really does taste good. It's one of the first things that virtually everybody that I've talked to that has been using a greens drink either for a few days or for many years. And the first thing they say to me is, wow, this stuff really tastes good. How did you make something so nutritious taste this good? Well, that's our secret. But we did it, and we did it naturally. Now, one of the things that I want to talk to you about, because I know the questions that are coming up, this product is only available in 2 markets in the world, so only in Australasia and in South Africa. And the same questions are coming up everywhere. A certain amount of confusion that makes sense about, how does this product fit into the list of products? Does it replace this one? How does it compare to that one? When do I use it? I'm going to answer all those questions for you this morning. But before I do that, I want to start by telling you why we decided to make the product. So the chart that you've been looking at for a few moments is going to help to explain that to you. Now, that's a very busy chart, lots of information. We're not going to go down every single nutrient. So I think, let me call your attention to vitamin C. So look at the chart for a moment, and you'll find vitamin C. You'll see that on the left part of the chart. And then you'll see at the top of the chart, we have how much nutrient is lost by freezing something that contains vitamin C, or by using a fruit dryer. Fruit dryers are very common in many parts of the world, and the idea is you take the fruit, you put it in the fruit dryer, and now you have this really excellent, nutritious snack made out of that fruit. That's the idea, except what most people don't know is that the fruit dryer just really takes the nutrition out of that fruit. As you can see, if you freeze, and let's just say as an example, you were going to freeze an orange. You don't do that, but you're going to freeze some food that contains vitamin C. You will lose about 30% of the vitamin C content by freezing, so that when you defrost it, you will have damaged about 30% of the vitamin C molecules. If you use a fruit dryer or a food dryer, you're going to lose about 80% of the vitamin C. So you think you have a really nutritious snack, but in fact, you don't really. Now, when you cook something with vitamin C is very, very heat resistant as nutrients go. Some nutrients are not heat resistant at all, and some are very heat resistant. Vitamin C is pretty heat resistant. So when you cook something that contains vitamin C, on average, you lose about 50% of the vitamin C from that food. And if you cook it and then drain it, because what happens is the majority of the nutrient will, at least 20-25% of the nutrient will leave the fruit and go into, or the food, whatever the vitamin C containing food is, and then go into the juice that you're cooking it in. So that if you drain it as well as cook it, well, now you've lost about 75% of the vitamin C. And then what little vitamin C is left, if you reheat the food as most of us very often do, you'll lose 50% of what's left. So the idea here is if you start with something that's very rich in, as an example, vitamin C, and you process it in any of these ways that we've talked about in these last few moments, you will lose a lot of the vitamin C. Now, I say this because I want people to understand that you're not what you eat. I know the old saying, you are what you eat, but that's not true. You are what you digest. So just because you've started with a food that is rich in some sort of nutrient, once you cook it, freeze it, reheat it, any processing, you will lose nutrition no matter how nutrient rich that food was to begin with. You will lose nutrition. Now understand, when you buy the food initially, your nutrition facts label in almost every country is going to list the nutrition in the raw, unprocessed food. It's not going to list your net nutrition that your body now has to attempt to digest and utilize. So the first point here is, even if you buy the very best fruit and vegetables, if you're processing them in any way, you are going to get less nutrition than you think you're getting. So that's an important factor right off the top. We also know that farming methods, there's so many new corporate farming methods, which, because farmers actually make a very, very low profit, farming is a very tough way to make a living. People have no idea, and it's become very sophisticated. It's really a science in order to keep up with profits at a high enough rate so that the farms can actually stay in business. Well, the problem with that, of course, is that this too affects the nutritional level of the fruits and vegetables. If the soil is not rotated properly and allowed to go fallow or allowed to rest, not just even for 1 year, but really for several years, it's pretty darn difficult for that soil to regain its nutrition. And if the nutrition is not in the soil, well, how can it get into the fruit or vegetable if it wasn't in the soil? So that also reduces the nutrition in our fruits and vegetables. And then there's some new studies out that are showing that and people will argue, should we say global warming? Should we say global climate change? I don't want to argue with anybody about that on a Saturday morning, okay? So I'm just going to say global warming is affecting nutrient levels in crops around the world because of the carbon dioxide levels. So there are a lot of reasons that our crops are no longer yielding the same level of nutrition that they used to yield. And then, of course, we look at what are the minimums that people should have. Well, in almost every country, we've got a fairly uniformed recommendation. Some countries do vary a little bit. I've seen some countries that have a ridiculously low requirement for only 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, but 10 is more the norm. Now, here's the problem, of course. How many people eat 10 servings of fruits and vegetables? And no, chips and tomato sauce do not count. Or as we say in America, French fries and ketchup. Those do not count as 2 servings of fruits or vegetables, okay? So we're talking about real, honest-to-goodness fruits and vegetables that haven't been processed in some extreme way, all right? How many people eat 10 servings? Well, if you're a vegan, maybe you do, but chances are, and the majority of the planet are not vegans. I think most of you know that. So we're talking about the average person is probably not getting their 10 servings of fruits and vegetables daily. Well, if you're not, then what are you going to do? Now, the recommendation for these 10 servings of fruits and vegetables is not for vitamins and minerals. Yes, they do contain some measure of vitamins and some measure of minerals, but that's not why they're recommended. You see, the human body requires vitamin minerals. Yes, absolutely it does. And amino acids and glyconutrients and something called phytonutrients. Phyto, that's spelled with a PH, phyto, that comes from an ancient Greek word which means plant. So plant nutrients are not vitamins, and they're not minerals, and they're not glycans or glyconutrients, and they're not amino acids. They are their own category of nutrition, and they are the primary reason that you should be eating the fruits and vegetables, not for the vitamins and minerals, but for the phytonutrients. Those phytonutrients are vital to your general health, to your immune function, to your antioxidant health. I mean, they're really vital in so many areas. So if you're not getting your 10 servings, you probably should think about an alternative. And we think the alternative is superfoods, greens and reds. Now, once again, we've added, to make this product even more unique, we've added soursop, or if you want to say guanabana, you can do that, and our own trademarked premium arabinogalactan, which is called AmbroGuard. AmbroGuard is a very close second to Manipol, very close second, in terms of its immunomodulatory function. And what does that mean? Okay. Well, people tend to, it's very natural for human beings to think in extremes. It really is. It's totally normal and natural. So people think about stimulation of the immune system or suppression of the immune system, those two extremes. But a healthy immune system is one that modulates to normal under all conditions. You want a modulator, because the modulator will bring your immune system up to normal, not above normal, up to normal when it's weak, and down to normal when it's overactive. So that's immunomodulation, and immunomodulation is always, always, always preferable to either stimulation or suppression. And AmbroGuard is the second best immunomodulator I've seen in my career, Manipol being the first. AmbroGuard runs a pretty close second to Manipol, so it's really good stuff that it's in there. Well, as you look at this beautiful picture, that's really nice art. I just really like that. Made the heart out of that delicious grouping of fruits and vegetables. Now, this product, Superfoods, is low carb if you're on the low carb diet. It's ketogenic if you're on the very popular ketogenic diet now. In the United States, and I'm not sure if they're doing it now or yet in Australasia, in the United States, diabetologists are now recommending what's called a lifelong ketogenic diet for blood sugar, to maintain normal blood sugar. So basically, the ketogenic diet is the low glycemic diet with fat added. Okay, it is essentially the way I've been recommending people to eat forever. And of course, the world for about 50 years was told to eat low fat. That was always wrong. It was wrong when they first said it. It was wrong the whole 50 years that they kept saying it. And there are some agencies that are still saying it, unfortunately. It's always been wrong. And you know, biochemistry is biochemistry. It's like saying you can change the law of gravity. Well, you can't. Gravity exists, and it's not going to go away. So there's some things that just can't be changed. There are some things that are facts and some things that are simply not. And it's a shame that doctors and the general public were misinformed with low-fat dieting for more than a half a century. It really is a shame. But fortunately, we're starting to get that straightened out, a piece at a time. So if any of you are on the ketogenic diet, this is keto-friendly as well. Okay? And what's the purpose of the product? The purpose of the product is to give you not vitamins, not minerals, not glycans, not amino acids. The purpose of the product is to give you the phytonutrients that we would want you to have from 10 servings of fruits and vegetables. And even though it was in my presentation at both the main event in, of course, we had to record it for Australasia, and also for South Africa, we still had people that missed that point, and they began to think of this product as a vitamin mineral product, which it is not. But we'll talk more about that as we proceed. So we've added to this, and of course organic, naturally, strawberry, raspberry, blueberry, tart cherry, one of my favorites, elderberry, and even cranberry. So these berries are added to it as well, and the phytonutrients from those berries have been added to this. So, I mean, that is a huge benefit to get all these veggies and all these fruits, the phytonutrients from them for your health. So we can say in Australasia it's a good source of antioxidant. Keep in mind, claims will differ for the same product in different countries based on the laws and regulations in those countries. And we are doing business in 27 countries right now. So for your 3 countries that we're speaking to this morning, we're going to say it's a good source of antioxidants. And of course, it does contain our proprietary trademarked glyconutrient or glycan called Ambrogard, and that's an immunomodulator. Now, this is being sold as a food in South Africa, and when you do, in Australasia and South Africa both, the rules around a food are different than the rules around a food supplement. So if you're wondering why we haven't made specific health claims on this product, it's because you can't make specific health claims if something is sold as a food, only if it's sold as a food supplement. And this product is being sold as a food. So that's why it doesn't have, I hope that's clear for everyone. And in addition to all the phytonutrient nutrition from the veggies and all those great berries that are involved in this, you also have 4 grams of fiber for every serving. Now, the average person, the average adult, it seems takes in about 15 to 25 grams a day. Well, women should have a minimum of 25 grams, so 15 won't get that job done. For colon health, men need a minimum of 38 grams per day, so they sure aren't getting that done with 15 grams a day. And so the addition of 4 grams in this delicious and very nutritious drink that's a really welcome addition, and it's a real benefit, the 4 grams. Naturally, it's low glycemic, and the lion's share of research in glycemic indexing has been done at the University of Sydney, New South Wales. So low glycemic is a term that's pretty familiar for you down there. This naturally is gluten-free. That is our direction in marketing and science, to try and be gluten-free, soy, dairy-free, MSG-free, no preservatives. And we want to stay away from things that are artificial, like artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners. There is also no genetically modified DNA in this product, none, 0. And that is our definite direction. You have no idea what we go through in our processes to inspect raw material before we'll buy the raw material to begin making a product. We send our members of our science team out to actually test the material and make sure that there is absolutely no evidence of things that we do not want our consumers to have. Also, it is our policy to not buy any material that has been irradiated. Now, that may or may not be familiar to you. There are a lot of food suppliers who use radiation to make sure that they've killed the critters And we use the word critters in Texas, but I think you know what I'm saying. And it also helps to extend the shelf life of a product. But we at Manatech feel that there are problems there, so we will not buy any kind of food material which has been irradiated. So you don't have to worry about that at all. So general look then, what we have, the soursop, which I'm going to explain to you in just a few moments, or guanabana, if you want to call it that. And of course, you can see all these other great sources of nutrition here. So you have to ask yourself, do you eat your spinach every day, your carrot, your broccoli? Are you consuming kale? Do you consume pomegranates or prunes or any of these things? And of course, unless you're already doing a greens drink, you are probably not consuming alfalfa. And alfalfa is very, very good for you. It's a very good source of minerals. But again, this is a food product, so we're not making those claims on this because it's a food product. All right, soursop, or as the natives in the Caribbean call it, guanabana. That's in their own native language. They call it that. In China, by the way, they prefer to call it guanabana, which I feel is it's interesting to me. Anyway, so with this in mind, what's it used for? Well, again, this is a food, so we're not going to make separate nutritional claims on it, but I want you to understand that soursop has been used by cultures in Central America for centuries. I have no idea how many centuries, because it is a very powerful superfruit. It is a really powerful antioxidant. It has other benefits which you cannot attach to a food product, so we won't discuss those. But of course, it also provides you with fiber. Now, there's a picture of a soursop fruit. As you see the green fruit there to the right of the slide. And you would think to yourself, who would eat that looking at it on purpose? Well, folks, hunter-gatherer groups will eat just about anything when they're starving to death. So someone discovered maybe thousands of years ago, I don't know, that this is a really powerful superfruit. It's amazing. The stuff that you can read about if you were to look up soursop, it's quite amazing. Now, of course, below that, you see a picture of a half of a beet. And beet is where we get betaine from. Betaine is quite an amazing thing. Now, when it's, again, when it's part of a food product, we make no individual claims. But betaine is a sort of a hybrid combination of 3 amino acids linked together, and it is also quite amazing for your health. It is a real powerful addition to this product, in addition to all the phytonutrients from the fruits and the vegetables. Mannapole, of course, which is the most powerful immunomodulating product I have seen in my entire career. I love Mannapole. All of you know that. I always say to you, if you see a product that has Mannapole on the label, you want to make sure you swallow it, because the benefits from Mannapole are just huge. Mannapole, by the way, is true ace-mannan. We keep looking at companies that are claiming that they're the same as Mannapole. They call themselves ace-mannan, and they simply do not meet the scientific definition. But Mannapole does. And Mannapole, by the way, is now consistently coming out at 2.36 million Daltons molecular weight. Now that's astounding, because the scientific definition says it has to be over 1 million Daltons. Nobody ever thought that you could ever possibly raise aloe and process aloe to such an extent that you could exceed 2 million Daltons. Nobody ever imagined it. I certainly never did. But we are now doing that consistently. Part of that is because when we raise our aloe in Costa Rica, which is a great environment for raising aloe, the temperature, rainfall, volcanic soil, you name it. In fact, there's an active volcano about Oh, about 5 miles from our aloe fields, and and it's constantly putting up smoke 24 hours a day coming out of the top of that volcano. So everything around there is volcanic soil. The soil is just astoundingly rich in nutrients, especially minerals. And we start our maniple growing process by actually testing every seedling with a DNA test to find out if each seedling is going to be a strong aloe plant or a weaker aloe plant. The weaker ones end up being used as fertilizer, and the stronger ones, of course, are used to make maniple. So I mean, it's amazing. You'd be astounded if you knew all the science behind just maniple by itself. And of course, the arabinogalactan in the premium form, which we have trademarked as Ambrogard because we own it. It is ours exclusively. Although there are other arabinogalactans, there is none as strong as Ambrogard is the premium form. And this is something that we know from scientific testing actually can help you to process probiotic bacteria in your gastrointestinal tract. So it has a prebiotic effect as well. That's very cool. And gum acacia provides us with 6 other glyconutrients or glycans. So this comes out kind of like ambrotose complex, pretty close to that. So that's a lot of benefits right there. And when we look at the consumers who are doing this, and of course our marketing department always wants us to be aware of this. I'm more of the science guy, but I'm going to give you this information anyway. Who is more likely to use a greens product? Well, the same people really who are more likely to buy a dietary supplement overall, and that's mostly people over 45. So you can see right there, and there the numbers are present for you, the percentages, male and female. Obviously, females are always the ones who buy more nutritional supplements than males. Females tend to be, and men, you're just going to have to get a grip and take it. I'm gonna insult the entire male gender here, but you're just going to have to deal with it. Okay, women are just smarter when it comes to health. They just are. They're looking at taking care of your health every day before a problem starts, rather than waiting until you're in pain, as the average man tends to do. How do I know this? Not just because I'm male, but because I was in practice for about 20 years and I saw it pretty much all the time. You know, the wives would have to drag their husbands in to see me. I feel okay. I don't need anything, right? Until they're really, really sick. And then it was like, please, doc, help me. Yeah, okay. So as you look at the chart here, and I know some of you ladies are probably chuckling in the background, but as you look at the chart, you can see clearly that females are buying more of these supplements than the males. But of course, in many cases, they're doing this for their entire family, because the majority of people who are buying greens products are married and have families and so on. So you've got all that information. Now, we also want you to know, because this is part of what Manatech is trying to do, and, you know, can Manatech be perfect? No company I know of can be perfect yet, but we are trying, folks. We are always conscious of the environment. We want to make sure that we use sustainable growing methods. For instance, at our aloe plantation, we have and I'm talking, we've got a 0 carbon footprint down there. We're using solar power and wind power, and that includes the processing plant itself. There is no power going into that plant except for power that comes from solar and wind, and we're very proud of that. And we are trying to do the best we can for the environment around the world, trying to make our contribution in this direction. And so when we say to you, we use sustainable farming methods, that's kind of what we're talking about, okay? And here are some facts and figures for you, because very often people need these to help explain to others, like how many people actually need a product like this, all right? Well, in Australia, 1 in 2, or approximately 51%, are not eating the minimum recommended intake of fruit as recommended by the Australian government. And 66% are not eating enough vegetables. Now, we see this trend basically around the world. So you're going to find in most countries that you have a similar, the numbers are going to be pretty close from one country to another country. But just so you have this for your own information, your own resources, and then you can refer this to others and understand that you have a really big market here, huge market of people to talk with. We know that right now, interestingly enough, Australia is the 3rd fastest growing vegan market in the world. And there, it's interesting. I'm sure that you've heard the saying, "Birds of a feather flock together," which is true, especially among birds, but also among people. And if you go to Los Angeles, there is a sort of section of Los Angeles where just about everybody who lives in this one section are either vegans or vegetarians. Now, they think that the entire planet has become vegan because that's what they see every day. In fact, the numbers are quite low, but they are growing, of people who are either vegan or vegetarian. And obviously it's growing pretty fast in Australia particularly. So something to think about. You've got a lot of people down there who might want to look at this really super healthy Superfood Greens and Reds drink and say, you know what, this could be a really strong addition to my personal health plan. And the functional foods, you'll see the term functional food at the top of the slide. That's a classification in Australia and New Zealand. And so this allows us to say certain things, but not everything that we would say if this product had entered the market as a dietary supplement, okay? So you see the claims on the slide right now, and they're pretty darn good ones, I think. I love longevity. I mean, I hope to be at Mandakini at least another 20 years, and then after that, I hope to spend another 50 years just enjoying my life. So, longevity is certainly on top of my list. And joint health and bone health, general immunity. When you support antioxidant health, you are supporting your general immunity as well. So you got a lot of good support in this product, really a lot. This is a great way for you to start your day. I mean, start every morning by taking your Superfoods Greens and Reds drink. It's a list of scientific references that these days we always show. Nobody in the audience ever pays attention to them, but we show them anyway. So there you go. So let's get the screen back to you, Sharon, and then I'll do some questions for you.
That was fantastic. We've got some comments. It's great with Osaline. It's great with the vanilla shake. So people have been experimenting since the convention. There's also questions. So you mentioned there are some vitamins and minerals in Superfood product, but would you say it's best not to focus on it when talking about it as a vitamin mineral product?
Well, first of all, the level of vitamin and mineral is fairly low because that's not the purpose of the product. The purpose of the product is to supply you with phytonutrients. It also is obviously giving you support in other areas, but we have to follow the law in Australia and New Zealand. And if you were to bring the food in as a food supplement, we would have vitamins and minerals, etc. listed. But since it's brought into your countries as a food, that can't be discussed. So So really, you don't want to discuss it at all. However, the amount of vitamin and mineral are low, and I know what the questions are. I mean, you told me a few of them before we started the call, but I got them all in South Africa as well. Same questions, because people are confused and they think about Nutriveris as an example, which Nutriveris is all plant sourced, and they think, well, it's plant sourced and it's green, so maybe it's the same as the Superfoods greens and reds. Well, it's not the same. Nutriveris is plant sourced, yes. It is green in color, yes. But it is a vitamin mineral product. We actually sell it as that. It was designed as a vitamin mineral product, and it's not as powerful as Catalyst, but it is all plant sourced. So for those people who are really hung up on the idea they have to have it all plant sourced or nothing, if it has to be that way, well then Nutriveris is going to be their choice. If they need a more powerful vitamin mineral support product, then they go to Catalyst, knowing that we do have chelates in Catalyst, which are natural, but they are not plant sourced. So, different thing there. Then of course the next question that comes up is, can I mix it? Well, you've already talked about that, and it's great to mix it with the Osoline. I mean, I think Osoline tastes awful by itself. So when we first launched it, the marketing department years ago, they said, tell everybody it tastes great. And I said, but it doesn't. And they said, tell them it tastes great. I said, they'll know as soon as they taste it. No. Okay. So, but if you put this new Superfoods drink, which really does have a really good taste, you put that into Osoline or the vanilla True Health Shake, and you've got a real taste treat there. And if you mix it with a True Health Shake, which of course is sold as a food supplement, and you have all the vitamins and minerals listed on the label, and that way you've got the two mixed together. If you wanted to, you could certainly put a scoop of Nutriveris into your drink made of Superfoods greens and reds, and then you have fortified your phytonutrient product with additional vitamins and minerals, which are all plant sourced. So that's an option for you as well. And what are the next questions that we have?
I haven't seen any more questions there, but that's fantastic the way you've positioned that, Dr. Nugent. And it'll help people, people just want to be clear communicators, don't they, and understand the benefits.
Sure, of course. And just to emphasize just one more time so everybody's clear on this, it takes us, in order for us to bring a product into a country as a food supplement, it very often takes us several months longer than if we bring it into the country as a food. We wanted to get this to you as quickly as we could. If we had to register with TGA as a food supplement, you wouldn't have it yet. You might not have it until next January. So we decided to bring it as a food. That's why we did it.
Yes, the regulatory challenges that we have globally are interesting, aren't they, to say the least?
I'll tell you what, just about make you crazy. And it's something that I've been kind of dealing with in my position, and since they promoted me, now I'm seeing firsthand on a daily basis what a big pain it is. As I'm trying to do things that seem logical to me as a scientist, and what I get is, logic has nothing to do with the law. These are just the rules here. It's like, yeah, but they're human beings.
Exactly. Logic has nothing to do with the rule makers either. Well, I'm
sure
Canadian and Australian, so that's confusing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder what my body wants and needs.
Yeah, that's right. The Canadian government's got a completely different view.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have to pretend we're American every once in a while, depending on the benefits. So there's another question here. Can you please explain the betaine nitric oxide?
Yeah, well, actually, I probably shouldn't have even said that, because nitric oxide would be a supplement claim and not a food claim. And all we can really say, if you're talking to a new prospective customer, is that it contains betaine, and then have them go look it up. but since I've already let that cat out of the bag, and just so everybody knows I shouldn't have, that's my mistake, and I apologize for that. Nitric oxide is made by the body when certain nutrients come together. One of the things it does is it acts as a vasodilator, and what that means in plain language is imagine a vein or artery opening up. So it's really super for circulation. It's the most important nutrient that I put into our product CardioBalance. But because CardioBalance is sold as a food supplement, we can't sell it in Australia because then we have to label the betaine as the actual nutrient that it is, which is not permitted to be discussed in Australia. It's really confusing. So it's beets, it's from beets, and it's the same thing, but they've got one rule for it under one name and a different rule for it under another name. It's really a crazy thing with the regulators. Yeah.
And they're asking for some distinctions around phytonutrients, so and the benefits in the body. So the phytonutrients are nutrition from plants.
Yes.
But I guess I guess most people know that fruits and vegetables are important, but what's the most succinct communication that we can use around that? The benefits?
Well, let me give you just one example. First of all, phytonutrients are almost always going to have such long, complicated names that almost no one will know how to pronounce it. Almost no one will know how to recognize it, which is why typically pretty much any company that sells phytonutrients will simply say phytonutrients. But here's an example. Why should you eat your broccoli? Okay, broccoli is very good for you. I think everyone knows that broccoli is good for you. Broccoli contains a phytonutrient, so forget the small amount of mineral and the small amount of vitamin that's in broccoli. It contains a phytonutrient which is called sulforaphane. Now, sulforaphane is a super important antioxidant, but sulforaphane acts differently than vitamin C as an antioxidant or vitamin A. So vitamin antioxidants, they lend electrons to help balance free radicals that are out of control. Phytonutrient antioxidants like sulforaphane function very differently, but they're both required by the body. And if you are eating your vegetables and getting things like sulforaphane, you are completing your antioxidant needs, if you will. Okay, so antioxidant vitamins are important. They're crucially important. But antioxidants from phytonutrients are also crucially important. And their functions are somewhat different. Their names are certainly more complicated and unfamiliar, but they still end up with the same net effect. And the net effect then is to help reduce the oxidative stress caused by free radicals, which are caused by pollution and chemicals and so on. So hopefully that wasn't still too complicated, I hope.
No, there's a lot of gratitude in the chat there for that.
Okay.
And then phytosterols, it's sort of quite a different product, but how does that relate to what you just mentioned, Dr. Nugent?
Well, a phytosterol is a plant nutrient, it is a phytonutrient, but instead of being an antioxidant type phytonutrient, it's a phytonutrient that works in a hormonal pathway. It is not something which is a hormone in and of itself, but it goes down a different pathway of function, which, let me see if I can explain a different way. A phytosterol, you might think of a phytosterol is the food to feed a gland so that the gland can make a hormone. And
right.
It has to combine with certain vitamins and minerals in order to do that. So this is why we have this whole huge gamut of different nutrients, which are all important to your health, but are all different categories, and each has slightly different functions.
Fantastic, Dr. Nugent. That's amazing. So I think we'll end it there. And I wonder, I'll reach out to Dana and get another time for you. I think it's time to refocus on the immune support content again, because there's so many questions coming in about that, including on this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Dr. Nugent, God bless you. Thank you so very much. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your Friday evening.